Have you ever canceled plans and felt relief instead of guilt? Not disappointment, not regret, relief. A quiet sense that something heavy just lifted off your chest. For a moment, everything becomes calm again. The noise stops, the pressure disappears. You can finally breathe. But almost immediately, another thought appears. Is something wrong with me? Because most people grow up hearing the same message. If you enjoy being alone too much, something must be wrong. Maybe you're antisocial. Maybe you're missing out on life. Maybe you're avoiding people. But psychology suggests something very different. For many people, preferring solitude is not a problem. It's a natural response to how their mind processes the world. Modern culture treats social activity as proof that life is going well. Busy weekends, group chats, constant plans. The more people around you, the more alive your life is supposed to be. At least that's the story we see everywhere. Movies celebrate crowded rooms. Social media celebrates packed calendars. And people who choose quiet evenings alone often get asked the same question. Why don't you go out more? But this assumption hides an important truth. Human minds are not built the same way. And what energizes one person can quietly exhaust another. Psychologists have known for decades that people respond to stimulation differently. Some nervous systems are designed to seek external input: conversation, crowds, noise, activity. These environments increase their energy. But other nervous systems work differently. They process external information much more deeply. Every conversation, every sound, every social signal. The brain is constantly analyzing and responding, which means something that feels normal to one person can feel mentally exhausting to another. Not because they dislike people, but because their brain is doing far more work in the same environment. Imagine two people leaving the same party. Both talked with friends, both laughed, both had a good time. But when they get home, their internal experience is completely different. One person feels energized. The conversation stimulated them. They feel like going somewhere else. The other person feels drained. Not unhappy, just mentally exhausted. Their brain wants something very specific. Quiet. Not loneliness, not isolation, just silence long enough for the mind to recover. This is where the misunderstanding begins. Because from the outside, the behavior looks the same. Someone turns down invitations. Someone spends more time alone. Someone chooses quiet activities. And people immediately assume something negative: loneliness, depression, avoidance. But psychology makes an important distinction. There is a difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is painful. It happens when someone wants connection but cannot find it. Solitude is chosen. And when solitude is chosen, it often has the opposite effect. It restores mental energy. People who prefer solitude often have something else happening internally. Their minds are active even when the room is quiet. Ideas, reflection, questions, creative thought. When external noise disappears, the internal world becomes clearer. This is why many thinkers throughout history preferred long periods alone. Not because they rejected people, but because uninterrupted thinking requires space. And that space rarely exists in environments filled with constant stimulation. Despite this, many people who prefer solitude spend years trying to act more social than they naturally are. They go to the parties, they say yes to invitations, they fill their calendar, because that's what they're told normal people do. And for a while, it works. They adapt, they perform. But something always feels slightly off, because every social interaction costs energy. And when that energy is constantly spent without enough recovery, the result is quiet exhaustion, not dramatic burnout, just a persistent feeling of being slightly drained. One of the biggest myths about solitude is that people who enjoy it don't value relationships. In reality, many of them value relationships deeply. They simply approach connection differently. Instead of maintaining dozens of casual interactions, they often prefer fewer but more meaningful ones. Long conversations instead of constant messaging. Depth instead of frequency. Because when social interaction requires more energy, the brain naturally becomes more selective about where that energy goes. At some point, many people who prefer solitude reach an important realization. They stop asking, "Why am I not more social?" and start asking a different question: what kind of environment actually allows me to function best? That question changes everything. Instead of constantly forcing themselves into environments that drain them, they begin designing their life differently. More quiet time, more intentional interaction, less noise, more balance. And surprisingly, this doesn't lead to isolation. It often leads to greater emotional stability. Psychologists describe this shift as self-acceptance. The moment someone stops treating their natural temperament as a flaw and starts recognizing it as a preference. Because not every fulfilling life looks socially busy from the outside. Some lives look quiet, but internally they feel full. Full of ideas, full of reflection, full of meaning. And when someone stops fighting their own temperament, something important happens. Their energy stops being wasted on pretending. The truth is, people who prefer being alone are not avoiding life. They're simply interacting with it in a different rhythm. Their attention moves differently. Their energy flows differently. Their peace often appears in places others rarely notice. A quiet room, a long walk, an uninterrupted evening. And when that preference is finally accepted instead of questioned, something changes. Solitude stops feeling like something that needs to be explained and starts feeling like something that simply makes sense. Because sometimes the mind understands the world best when the world finally becomes quiet.